Supersystemic. We explore the science, art, and economy of interconnectedness. Today, our guest is Mikey Taylor, 17-year-old developer and researcher in the areas of machine learning and neurotechnology. His work encompasses the microbiome, autism, mental health in general, and very broadly, neuroscience. Hi, Mikey. Welcome to Think Supersystemic.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Wonderful. To get started, I would love to, just get a bit about your background. I know you're 17 years old, but I would love to hear about how you got into this very accelerated academic path of learning and supporting organizations and that sort of thing. If you can give an overview of your, past 5 years or whatever that got you here.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Mikey. I'm 17, as you had mentioned, but I'm really passionate about using science and technology in the mental health space. So I'm currently interning at a company called Apollo Neuroscience, in which we're creating the future of wearable technology that can ease anxiety. And I'm also a student collaborator at Harvard Medical School's McLean Hospital, in which I'm doing psychiatric research. And as you know, I'm also working on a project to try to use gut microbiota data to diagnose autism in its earliest stages. And to your question about how did I get involved in all of these advanced topics at 17 years old. So I got to take on these advanced topics by joining a program called the Knowledge Society, or TKS. And TKS is essentially a human accelerator program for young, ambitious teens who want to make an impact on the world. So it's through TKS that I've been exposed to emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, gene editing, and I've actually learned how to use these emerging technologies in projects to try to solve real world problems. So it's through TKS I've built skills in neuroscience, artificial intelligence. I've learned how to solve hard problems, and I've been able to consult for real world companies. And in TKS, one of the things I really love about it is that I'm surrounded by like-minded individuals. And I think of everybody in TKS kind of like future co-founders. So I'm currently working with another TKS student on creating a mental health mobile application for adolescents. And I've also received really great mentorship from world-class innovators through TKS.
Great. And so would you say that your one of your focuses, or maybe your core focus, is more complex, like complex systems and that sort of thing, and using AI, machine learning, et cetera, to try to assess where problems are and inefficiencies and that sort of thing? Is that a good characterization?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, one thing that reminds me of that, I did a consulting project for Techstars through TKS, and one of the things we were working on was trying to use natural language processing to make the process of going through all of these applications easier and more efficient. So yes, I definitely say that that's one of the things that I'm really interested in.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit about how you came to work with this other person in TKS to develop the app for mental health? What types of mental health issues are youth seeing, and like what are the types of potential solutions?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess my journey going into the mental health space starts probably a couple years ago when I had started facing my own mental health challenges. So I have really bad OCD and anxiety, which ultimately led me to be really depressed. And with the stress of school as well, that was just like not good. I thought I was alone, but then I realized that a lot of my other friends in high school were going through similar things. But then again, there's a lot of stigma to actually receiving treatment and going to a therapist for different mental health disorders. So, what we're working on is trying to create really accessible solutions for mental health. So, our first product will be a mental health mobile application that includes a chatbot to help adolescents with the stress of high school and perhaps college, and also working on creating guides for mindfulness exercises to be able to basically make mental health more accessible for everybody.
Very interesting. So cool that you can, at your age, be able to reflect back on it and see the challenges that you face and try to develop something to help other people. It's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
Um, can you talk a little bit about so what you found, about autism in general, specifically your approach to trying to understand it and what you found so far, and kind of where you think you could go with it next, or where science might go next with researching autism?
Yeah, for sure. So, the current research, yeah, on the connection of autism and the gut microbiota in the brain is super fascinating. Several studies have shown that people with autism have a distinct gut microbiota composition. And mice show autistic symptoms as well when normal species of gut bacteria are absent. So, there was a study done at the California Institute of Technology in which they transfer gut microbes from people with autism spectrum disorder into these mice. And at 6 weeks old, the offspring of these mice, which had inherited the gut microbiota of their parents, um, actually showed autistic symptoms. And
Mm,
these mice had lower levels of specific metabolites. And what we were able to do in the lab was actually give these mice these metabolites, and we saw their autistic symptoms actually improve.
mm,
And there was another study too at Arizona State University, which showed that basically what they did was they put the bacteria from a healthy person's gut microbiota into these people with autism spectrum disorder in the form of a bacteria fortified drink.
mm.
And at the end of the 2 week study period, these children actually had a 47% improvement in their autistic symptoms, which is crazy. And
Wow.
so with all this research in mind, what I've been trying to do is use machine learning and gut microbiota data from individuals with and without autism spectrum disorder to try to create almost a risk assessment for developing autism spectrum disorder in its really early stages too. So one of the questions I want to answer is, at what point in the development of autism do we actually see these gut microbiota changes?
Mm,
Because that will I want to what I'm trying to do now is train machine learning models to be able to classify autistic individuals from neurotypical individuals using different machine learning methods. So yeah, one of the questions I definitely want to answer is, at what point in development? And I'm also curious if we could take the gut microbiota of the parent and also do a risk assessment for autism. I
mm,
think that preventative medicine is the future, and I think that there will be ways that which we could prevent these symptoms of autism before they occur, perhaps by taking gut microbiota samples and novel gut microbiota interventions in addition to other treatments as well.
mm,
And I'd also like to see farther studies on fecal matter transplants for autism. They're not currently FDA approved,
mhm,
but I want to, yeah, because some studies have proven to be kind of inconclusive regarding fecal matter transplants in autism.
mm.
However, some do show a lot of promise, so I definitely like to see more research there as well.
Very cool. And when you're talking about when you're looking at the microbes from a given individual, perhaps from a healthy individual and an unhealthy individual,
Mhm.
uh, how many different species are we talking about? And then how is that data collected? Is this coming from people's poop or poop samples or something, and then that data is kind of like collected and you get access to it somehow?
Yeah, for sure. So, what I've been trying to do now is reaching out to labs to get more of this data. There are some publicly available data sets for the gut microbiota and autism. So, the one I've been playing around with, want to say it has around maybe 100, more than 100 different types of bacteria that they've done and they've sequenced and classified using something called 16 sRNA sequencing.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I want to say there are around 100 different species of bacteria. So a lot of it is trying to figure out which specific types of bacteria are actually different between autistic individuals and neurotypical individuals.
Hmm.
So we can reduce the complexity of the machine learning model to basically reduce the amount of inputs that are going in. So that's something I've also been trying to do.
Great. And it sounds like a big part of your growth area over the past couple of years has been learning machine learning models, right? Can you talk a
Right.
little bit about just how you get into that and where that's going in terms of developing those machine learning models?
Yeah, for sure. So how I learned about machine learning, I was first exposed to it in the Knowledge Society, but then there are actually a lot of online courses for machine learning that I took. So I tried to take as many of these courses as I could find to gain skills in this area, and it's something that I'm going to continue gaining skills in within the next coming years. And for the specific project with the gut microbiota and autism, I've been using something called a random forest classifier. And a random forest classifier basically asks a bunch of questions to your data point about the relative abundance of certain types of bacteria within that data sample. And it tries to break the data points up into separate groups. In this case, autistic individuals and neurotypical individuals. So this model that I've trained, I've been able to get it to 88% accuracy. However, I do need a larger data set. And so I'm reaching out to more labs to try to get this larger data set and train more advanced machine learning models as well.
Very cool. And so I understand you also took on a project on bee colony collapse disorder at some point. Can you
Yeah,
talk a little
right.
bit about what you found there? And is there a microbial connection there, or what's the yeah? If you can share a little bit about that process and what you found.
Yeah, for sure. So this was a project I had actually worked on for, I think it was my eighth grade science fair project. So at the time I was 14. And basically, I was really interested in colony collapse disorder, which is essentially the phenomenon when the queen bee of the colony and the other bees in the colony they die off, but at a very abnormal rate. And what I was really interested in was how could global warming be playing a factor in this process, colony collapse disorder. So what I was looking at was I was looking at how increased carbon dioxide emissions actually affect the protein concentration of honeybees' primary protein source, which is pollen. So what I actually found was that increased carbon dioxide levels decrease the protein content of pollen, which could actually be very bad for honeybees and
Mm.
potentially lead to colony collapse disorder because these honeybees really do rely on this protein source. And in connection with the gut and the microbiome, I'm not sure if there's a specific link between what I'm looking at, but perhaps
Mhm.
there is one with colony
Mhm.
collapse disorder, but not necessarily with the project that I was working on.
Very interesting. So would you say, so in the coming years, like where do you see, so you're 17 now,
Mhm.
you know, you're becoming an adult, technically. You seem like you've been an adult for 5 years to me, but uh, would you say, where are you going? What type of thing do you want to get into in the next couple of years? And where's your learning going to expand as well?
Yeah, for sure. So for the next couple of years, I'm definitely planning on gaining experience in building teams and team management. I'm really interested in what does it look like to build a culture? What does it look like to build a community? Because a lot of the projects that I've worked on have been independent projects, but what I've begun to learn is that innovation doesn't really happen. It's not a process that happens from one person. It happens within a team.
Mm.
So I want to try to bring out the magic in different individuals and pull us together a bunch of unique perspectives to try to create a high performing team. And so I'm going to work on the skills I need to be able to do this. And
Mm.
obviously, what I see myself doing long term is definitely something related to mental health or neuroscience. So I'm also trying to keep building my skills here as well as my skills in machine learning too.
Excellent. So it sounds like the one thing that you have really done that I think a lot of people would love to be able to do is to make yourself super, super hungry to learn new things and kind of guide yourself. Obviously, it sounds like you've gotten some guidance from TKS and some other things, but obviously the majority of this is because you have this core that you want to really learn and expand your knowledge. Is there anything you can share, or tips or tricks for people who are doing or want to do the same thing, want to be really hungry, but can't find the enthusiasm or can't put themselves in the right direction, that sort of thing, of what courses to take and that sort of thing?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess something that helped me was when I was learning about all of these emerging technologies and taking AI courses. A lot of times, it's not all fun. It's not all fun having to go through an AI course. But what I remind myself during this is why I'm doing it. And for me, that's because I'm really passionate about the mental health space and trying to apply these technologies to help other people. So I'd say in terms of like motivation, trying to find a problem that you're passionate about and then using these emerging technologies for that specific passion and trying to connect what you're learning about to that passion, because that's going to make you a lot hungrier and that's going to really increase your motivation to keep learning.
Very cool. So it sounds like, to put things in other terms, you've essentially found a purpose and everything
Right.
kind of falls behind that purpose, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I mean, this is such fascinating stuff that you have dived so deeply into all these different subject areas, and like I said, kind of found a purpose to drive yourself forward. I'm really excited about where you're going in the coming years, and I hope to witness great things, and I'm sure I will.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Greg.
All right, have a good one.